Hello, my name is Miranda Morgan. I'm here to tell a story about a compelling event that happened in my life. I chose something that wasn't too depressing, hopefully not too cringe, and has a little bit of spookiness to it. So I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada in October 2022. I moved in with my friend Hannah and her soon-to-be husband Jarrell. That Christmas, we went to go visit her family for the holidays in Spokane, Idaho. Her whole family was there, but we were the only three that were staying in the house with her mom. Her dad lives in like a house that's kind of off the side. He lives with like 9 dogs, no lie. So the first night we slept there, I slept in a guest bedroom, and right in the hall, about doors 2 feet away, Hannah and Jarrell slept in the next bedroom. I usually sleep with meditation tones or some sort of meditation playing in a small speaker or on actual headphones. And that night I, went to sleep as usual, and I had a very weird dream about being in an abandoned high school. And in this dream, there was like a long hallway, almost like a gym, I think it was. And in the dream, I was kind of being pulled down this hallway, but also elevated in a way. So it was kind of like down and up. And it was a very spooky vibe, kind of like an abandoned school. I'm not sure what we were doing in the dream. Definitely had like a ghost hunting vibe almost. But after that dream, I kind of had like a waking up thing that turned into a sleep paralysis, and I really hadn't had a sleep paralysis in 10 years. This is probably only the second one in my entire life. And during this sleep paralysis, I could see what was all in the room. The only thing that I added that wasn't actually in the room was this clothing rack that you hang clothes on, which actually in turn ended up being in Hannah and Jarrell's room, I realized. But either way, during this sleep paralysis, I was being dragged across the room. I was being dragged like against the wall, and then also like elevated, like pulled up. I was pretty much terrified because I couldn't wake myself up. I had no control, and it felt like something was just pulling me, dragging me around the room. Very scary experience, and I couldn't get myself out of it, but I finally did, and I was absolutely terrified. I wanted to run into the room where Hannah and Jarrell were, but I didn't because I felt like it would be like super inappropriate because they were a couple, and I didn't want to just bust into the room with them. I did hear them like talking though, I felt like, but again, I didn't want to assume that they were awake. So I'm still like in this terrified, like shocked feeling. And I went to go into the kitchen, like the living room kitchen area, because I didn't want to be in that room basically, but I didn't have my glasses on because I couldn't find them. And when I went out into the hallway, I felt as if I could see something down the hallway or in the living room, and I felt like a presence. So I saw almost like a figure, and it felt like there was something in there. So I went back into the room, still pretty much shaken up and terrified. And all this happened probably in a matter of like, I don't know, less than a minute. They have a wraparound porch that goes around their house, mind you. There's, open area. There's acres of land. The next house is probably a 2-minute drive. There's clusters of houses, but it was just all open area. And when I heard something like walking out on the porch, it sounded almost like deer, but more like footsteps in a way. I can't explain exactly the sound, but it didn't quite sound like it was an animal. It sounded more like walking. So again, I'm terrified, freaking out. I text Hannah just to be like, I just had the scariest thing happen to me. I had like sleep paralysis, whatever, and I basically just tried to get myself to go back to sleep. So I did fall asleep, and the next day when I was waking up, I heard Jarrell out in the living room talking with everyone, and he was speaking about, I guess having a night terror and like hearing something out on the porch. So immediately, obviously, I want to go out and be like, what happened? So I go out and, I'm listening to what he's saying, and apparently he had a very similar dream that I had about being in an abandoned building, and he had a night terror after that, and Hannah could not wake him up. I guess he was like thrashing and yelling in his sleep. Meanwhile, Hannah's like worried about him freaking out, and he also heard something walking on the porch. I had sent Hannah that text message the night before, so I guess like my story in that way, it was like the timestamp that kind of checked out that I also had, a very odd experience that night. So we were comparing like dreams and, whatever experiences, and it seemed, really odd coincidence that we both had a similar dream, similar, like, I guess, feeling like being elevated. I'm not exactly sure what his night terror, whatever you want to say, was in comparison to mine, but he also had heard that like walking on the porch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Spokane at all, but I think it's in the top 3, top 5, at least top 10 in America of places where there are known UFO sightings and, claimed alien abductions. So, I mean, I don't want to say I do believe in aliens because it's now kind of like a known fact that they exist in the world, whether it's through government files or, CIA or whatever you want to say, or actual like multiple UFO sightings that can't be ignored. So that's kind of like my spooky story that's compelling, and I'm not sure what it actually is or what happened, but the fact that it happened to somebody at the same time as me kind of checks out in my head as, a real life, weird, scary, compelling experience. Okay, thank you so much for listening.